All right, in this video, I'm going to give you the ultimate guide to on-page SEO. I'm going to cover all the different aspects of on-page SEO, how to do them, and I'm also going to give you a checklist so that you can go through your website, tick them all off, and get it all done. So let's get right into it. So what is on-page SEO? So on-page SEO, also sometimes called on-site SEO, basically refers to anything that has to do with optimizing what is on the actual website itself. So thus the name on-page, as in on-page, like on the website. On-page SEO is easily one of the most important, if not the most important thing when it comes to SEO. The reason why is because you can make a website rank with just really good on-page SEO, but no matter what you do, it's going to be next to impossible to make it rank if you don't have good on-page SEO. So in this video, I'm going to go into more detail about all the different parts of what makes up on-page SEO, how to do each of them, and give you the checklist so that you can follow for your own website. Now, just to give you a quick overview, off-page SEO, on the other hand, is everything off the website itself, which helps with getting that website to rank. So typically this means backlinks in social media, as those two are the vast majority of off-page SEO. I'm going to cover off-page SEO in another video, so stay tuned for that one if that's something you're interested in. Hey guys, real quick, if you want to add at least $100,000 to $300,000 per year in new business, guaranteed, or you literally don't pay, go to dominatemarketing.io to book a call with us, and we'll show you exactly how we'll do that for you. Back to the video. Now, on-page SEO factors. There are a number of factors on your website that are going to affect how well it ranks in Google, and I'm going to go through each of them now and explain what they are and what you need to know about them. So, number one, meta titles and descriptions. This is one of the most important things on your website when it comes to SEO. That's actually the meta title itself. So the meta title is the title that shows up in the browser in the tab. You know, when you open a browser on your desktop and you see the title in the tab. And it's also the headline that shows up in the Google search results as the main headline. So you can see here I've outlined the ones that show up in Google search, which are the meta titles. So these titles actually play a role in telling Google what this page is about, and obviously the website as a whole. And they also play a part in convincing the user to actually click the result on the Google search to go to your website, because users see this, and so you need to use that to get them to, you know, tell them that what you have is what they're looking for, and then they'll click it and go to your website. So the meta titles actually need to contain the keyword that you want that page to rank for, so that it's actually relevant to that keyword, and they also need to read well. So a couple of rules for meta titles. You want to keep them under 60 characters, otherwise they get cut off in the Google search results page. You can see how this one here, you see it's cut off because it's slightly too long. So it's actually not a character limit, it's a pixel limit, but typically 60 characters is where that cutoff happens. You want to keep them under 60 characters. You need to contain the keyword that you want to rank for in the meta title. You want to prioritize getting the right keywords in there over using clickbait stuff. You can use clickbait stuff once you're already ranking and play around with trying to increase the click-through rate. But if you're trying to rank, just focus on getting the keywords in there. And make sure that you keep the meta titles unique to every single page. You'll want to watch my video on keyword cannibalization to find out why. I'm going to put a link to that up here now. So the other thing you want to do is to try to keep them the same as the H1 header, which I'm covering next, because if you keep the meta title the same as the H1 header, Google won't override the meta title in the search results. However, if you make them different, there's a higher chance that Google will actually rewrite your meta title, which they started doing relatively recently, and usually the result is not good, so you'd like to keep control of that typically. Now, meta descriptions are the description that displays below the headline in the Google search results. So you can see here in this screenshot, you can see the description, that's the one that goes below the headline and below the URL and so on. So that's what that is. And unlike meta titles, meta descriptions actually don't play a part in helping your website to rank anymore. They used to in the past, but they don't anymore. However, they are extremely useful for convincing the user to click your website in the search page result. So you want to use the meta description to do a bit of selling to convince them to actually click yours as opposed to one of the other websites. Now, if you leave your meta description blank, which you can do, Google will typically auto-populate it. And again, the results are usually less than fantastic. You can see here what it's done on this result as an example, is it's just pulled the content from the page. And honestly, this meta description basically tells you nothing. So that's the sort of thing that can happen if you don't control it. So you want to use the meta description to sell people on why they should click your website, because that can increase your click-through rate. Now, the second point is headers. So this is another crucial component of on-page SEO, and it's one of the three things I call the three pillars of SEO. The meta titles are the first one, the headers are the second one, and the next thing is going to be the third one. The headers are the main headlines on your page, and they tell both Google and users what this page is about. So this is a screenshot of my website, and you can see here the main headline is the H1 headline, and then the second headline below that is the H2 headline. So these give you a perfect opportunity to get your keywords that you want to rank for on the page, as well as convincing the users to keep reading the page, because this is the first thing they're going to see when they land on it. So you need to grab their attention, otherwise a lot of people will leave. So the headers are formatted in order of priority, starting with H1 being the highest priority text on the page and the most important heading, followed by H2, H3, and so on until H6. Now, just for clarification, that's an HTML code setting when I refer to H1, H2, H3. That's what that means. It's the HTML format of the headline that you can adjust in the code, or in most page editors, it lets you select which one you want. So in most cases, you're only really going to need to use H1, H2, and H3, barring some odd exception where you have like subsections of subsections, you might need to use H4 or H5, but honestly, that's pretty uncommon. What you want to do is use the H1 header to contain the main keyword that you want to rank for, and then you use the H2 and H3 headers to contain various variations of that to help support and establish that the page is topically relevant for that particular keyword. Now, a couple of rules for headers. You want to make sure that you have only one H1 per page. Don't have multiples, because that can just confuse Google and it doesn't do you any favors. Focus on just having one per page. Make the H1 headline unique on every page. Again, keyword cannibalization video if you don't know why. Link will be above. It'll be in the description as well. Don't overstuff with keywords. So the headline needs to read naturally like a normal person wrote it. You don't just want to stuff all your keywords in there. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that it contains the most important keywords that you actually want to rank for. Now, you want to use the header to convince the reader to keep reading, because a bad headline will actually turn users away. Its job is to sell them on why they should read the rest of your page. So keep that in mind when you're writing them, and keep the formatting in order. So you should have H1 at the top of the page. Ideally, in some instances, you can have like an H2 sub headline above it if it fits the thing. But typically speaking, you want to have H1 headline, then H2 headline, then the relevant H3 headlines below that. And then the next H2 headline is the next section, and then the next relevant H3s below that, and so on. So hopefully that makes sense. You want to keep that formatted in order. Now, the third pillar of the three most important pillars of SEO is URLs. So this is another crucial factor for getting your website to rank. This is the URL. That's the thing you need to type in to actually go to the website. Now, this is the main URL of the website, the domain name, but the URL also refers to the part that has like slash whatever page it is. So like slash plumbing, slash auto repair, whatever it is after the domain name. That's also what I'm referring to when I speak about URLs here. They not only tell Google what the page is about, but they also outline the structure of your website so that Google can easily figure out which page is related to which topic. So each page is going to have its own unique URL, and you want to include the main keyword for that page as the URL to ensure that it's extremely clear what that page is about. And the shorter URL, the better. So a couple of rules for URLs. You want to keep the URL short, ideally 3 to 4 words maximum. There are some instances where you can make them a bit longer, but keep them as short as you possibly can. Always include the main keyword you want to rank for. So for instance, if it's plumbing, you would want to have the URL as just plumbing. If it's auto repair, you would have auto repair. You don't want to make it some extremely long car auto repair services in XYZ sort of thing, because that doesn't work anymore. That used to be a tactic, it doesn't work anymore, so don't do that. If the URL is for a subpage, don't include the keyword multiple times. So for instance, if you've got a main plumbing page and then you've got residential plumbing below that page, it's actually better to just have the URL /plumbing as the main page and then /residential for the residential page, as opposed to having /plumbing /residential plumbing. Having the keyword in there twice is actually not going to help you rank. And in fact, in many cases, it can actually make things worse. So just keep it simple. Don't overstuff it with keywords and you'll be far better off. Now, the next part is internal links. So internal links refer to links within the body content of the pages that link to other pages on your website. So here's an example screenshot from my website. You can see how this keyword search intent links to another page. this link links to another page, and these words Google Ads course playlist also link to another page. So that's what I mean when I say internal links. I'm not talking about menus and navigational links because they don't have the same power as body content links like these. So you want to ensure that you link as many relevant pages together as possible using the appropriate anchor text, which means the words that are in this link. So for instance, in this one, it would be Google Ads course playlist. That's the anchor text here, as this helps Google identify what the page that you're linking to is actually relevant for. So while internal links are not going to help you get more authority like an external backlink will, they will help to significantly get the right pages on your site ranking and spread the relevance to the correct pages for the correct keywords. So that's why their significance is so important. So a couple of rules for internal links. Link to pages only within the topical silo. Now, to find out what that is, I'm going to put a link to my silo website structure video. If you haven't watched that, click above and watch that video because that's actually quite important for this. So make sure to watch that. You want to change up the anchor text every time you make a link to the same page. Don't just use the exact same anchor text over and over again. So for instance, if I was to link to the Google Ads course playlist again, I would put, for instance, Google Ads course as another link, and then you could have like my Google Ads course as another one. You want to vary it up a little bit. Don't use the exact same anchor text every single time because that's going to look like spam. Now, there isn't a limit as to how many internal links you can make on each page, but you don't really want to link twice from the same page to the same page. So as in, if you have 2 links going to the residential plumbing page from the main plumbing page, that's not actually going to help you. So there's no point having multiple links going to the same page from the same page, if that makes sense. And you also want to make sure not to leave any pages on your site that don't link to any other pages. So these are basically called a dead end for link juice. So like the power you get from a backlink, and it's going to go to waste if it goes to a page that just doesn't link anywhere else. Whereas if it does, it'll spread out through the other relevant pages on your site and help to boost it more. So again, I talk about this in the SEO silo video. I'm going to link that again up above. Make sure to watch that video to find out why this is important, because I go into detail there about this. Now, the next point is page content. So this is another extremely important part for ranking on your website. It actually plays a very big part. If you get the first 3 factors right, but you have rubbish or no content, you're still going to struggle to rank. So you need to make content that's really good. So the best way that you need to do this is to search up the keyword you want to rank for in Google and see what the top 5 to 10 results on that page are showing up, what content they have on their websites. So ideally what you want to do is take all of that content from all these pages and combine it all and essentially make a mega page that outdoes all of them. Now, word count of the content does actually play a factor. So a good rule to follow is take the average word count of all the results on page 1 and then add 20% just to make sure that you're slightly better. So having a page that's 3 or 4 times bigger than the other ones on there isn't necessarily a good thing. That won't always help you. So you want to try and keep it within the same range, but maybe slightly longer. Now, another important point about page content is that it needs to match the user's search intent. That's extremely important. There is no point writing a 2,000 word article if you're talking about something that the person searching the keyword doesn't actually need, and Google's going to not rank you as a result, because even if Google doesn't figure it out, what they will figure out is when people click on it and then leave immediately and go somewhere else. So that's going to make your website drop. Google is placing more and more importance on search intent, so you need to establish what the users are actually searching for when they type in the keyword you're trying to rank for, and you need to give that to them. Again, the best place to find this is on page 1. I'm also going to put a link to my search intent video above, so you need to go watch that as well if you haven't watched it. That's going to explain why this is relevant. So you also want to give the answer to the search query quickly and close to the top of the page before going into depth with your content, because it's no longer a good thing to have it buried all the way down so that people read. Google doesn't like that anymore. You want to just give it to them straight away at the top. So a couple rules for page content. Your content should be better than all the other results on page 1 and should contain information that most of the others don't have, which is going to give you an advantage. Your page content must address the correct search intent or you're not going to rank well. You need to give the answer to the query as quickly and as clearly as you can towards the top of the page. So this can mean having a short paragraph that summarizes the answer and in bold so that people see it straight away and get the answer they're looking for. And now your content should be 20% longer than the average word count of the other page 1 results. That's going to help you just get a bit of an advantage. Now, images and alt text. Images play a big role in SEO, both in terms of appearing as rich content to Google as well as keeping the readers interested in your page. If the page is just one big wall of text with no images, nothing to break it up, most people are not going to be able to read through that. They're just going to leave your site. So images actually help with that. Now, every page on your website should at least have one image that's appropriate to the topic. Like I said, they break up the page and they make it easier on the eyes, so it's more likely to keep people reading. However, you need to be careful with the size of the images, as massive images are going to cause your website to load slowly, which is going to hurt your conversion rate and as a result, your rankings. So I'm going to go into website speed a little bit later in this guide, but that's something to be aware of. Now, there isn't exactly a limit as to how many images you should have per page. Just keep the load speed in mind. If you're putting a lot of pages on, you want to make sure that where the page is not loading too slowly as a result. If you put 100 images on the page, it's going to load slowly, so you need to find the right balance there. Also, you need to fill in the alt text for every single image on your website with the appropriate description of what the image is about. So don't just go and stuff your keywords in there, as that's not going to help you. It needs to be an actually appropriate description of what the image is so that Google can figure out what the image is about and correctly index it, as well as to display to people who are actually blind. That's what originally the alternative text for, so it can read out to them what the image is supposed to be about. So for instance, in this one, I've put this image here of the red car parked in front of the building, and I've just put red car parked in front of a building. So that tells you what the image is about. Now, a couple rules for images. Every page should have an image, including blog posts. There's no limit to how many images you can put on a page, but just keep in mind the page load time. Fill in the alt text with the appropriate description of what the image is about. Don't stuff keywords in there. Keep the size of the image as small as you can while retaining quality to help with the page loading speed. And you might need to convert the image into a different format, such as a WebP file, to help keep the size down. And there are actually plugins that will do that for you and automatically convert all the images on your site. So you might want to look into that if that's something you need to do. Now, the next point is keywords and entities. So Google is actually smart enough now to know that certain keywords usually contain other keywords around them if the page is about a particular topic. So these are called entities. And for instance, what I mean by that is a page about cars will typically have a mention of tires, engine, suspension, or other things related to cars, obviously depending on what it is talking about when it comes to cars. But if you just try and stuff your keyword like the keyword cars onto a page that does not have other relevant words, Google will know that something is up and your chances of ranking are slim. So Google expects to see these other words in certain frequencies. That's known as keyword density. And so you need to make sure that the words are appearing in the correct frequency so that you don't set off any alarm bells. This is typically more relevant in more competitive niches, but it's still something that's good to keep in mind. You want to compare your content against the other content on page one to see if the frequency of your entities is similar to theirs. If you're way off, your site's actually going to rank lower, so bear that in mind. A couple of rules for keywords and entities. Make sure to include the other words, the entities that relate to your keyword and your topic in your content as well. Entity frequency should match the average that's found on page one. Don't overstuff keywords in your content. This will do you more harm than good. You're better off having less exact keywords than more. So keep that in mind. Now, the next point is sitemaps. So a sitemap is essentially a plain text list of all the pages on your website. It gives Google an easy to read list of all the pages on your site, and it helps it to understand the structure of the website easier. So the sitemaps are typically in XML format, though they can be in HTML format as well. You want to make sure that you definitely have an HTML sitemap as requirement, and then an HTML one is optional, so you don't really have to worry about that. Now, most SEO plugins will automatically produce a sitemap for you, which you can then submit to the Google Search Console so that Google knows there is a sitemap and can quickly and easily read it, which is going to help you rank quicker because you got indexed quicker. So you can usually find your sitemap at the URL, your domain name /sitemap.xml. That's usually where it is. The sitemap will also help get your pages indexed quicker by Google, like I mentioned earlier, because Google will be aware that the pages actually exist. So it's going to crawl them faster than if they had to go looking throughout your website to try and find them. So a couple rules for sitemaps. Make sure that you have an XML sitemap. Submit the sitemap to the Google Search Console. And if the sitemap doesn't automatically update when you add more pages or more content, you want to make sure to update it regularly as you add pages to the site. Now, the next point is SSL certificate. So the SSL certificate is something that your hosting provider or domain register will give you. It encrypts the traffic to your website to ensure that the connection is safe for the user. Now, when you have a valid SSL certificate, the URL of the website will display as HTTPS, as you can see in the example above, as opposed to just HTTP. It will also display this little lock icon, whereas if you don't have an SSL certificate, you're not going to have this little lock icon. And in some instances, it's actually going to display as website not secure to your users, which you don't want, because obviously that's not something you want potential customers and users seeing, having a warning sign that your website's not secure. As I'm sure you know, that's going to put you off and everybody else. So you need to make sure that you have a valid SSL certificate. The other reason is that it's actually crucial for SEO, since Google made HTTPS a ranking factor in 2014, which means that you're going to need an SSL certificate if you want your website to rank. Now, there's no specific rules for SSL certificates. Just get a valid one from your domain or hosting provider and you should be good to go. They are now usually included with hosting. So if by any chance you don't have one, just check with your hosting provider how to apply it to your site. Now, the next point is website speed. So website speed is now a big factor when it comes to SEO for multiple reasons. So one is the fact that Google themselves monitor it, and you can see various speed related tests in the Google Search Console, and it will reward faster loading websites. So the second point is because a slow site is almost guaranteed to negatively affect your conversion rates, which will in fact affect your rankings. And I'm going to go into more of this in a little bit further down this guide. So website speed is becoming even more important now as more website traffic is on mobile devices, which not always have a perfect internet connection and sometimes take a bit longer to load. So it's twice as important for that reason. You want to aim for less than a 4-second loading time. And if your website loads slower than 4 seconds, then you need to do something about it. In 95% of cases, oversized images are the cause of the slow websites, which is what I mentioned earlier. So you need to optimize your images like I described, and odds are your website is going to load much faster. Now you can go to this tool, which is tools.pingdom.com, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description below, and it will also be in this guide where you can go and test your website. So if you open that website, you can put your website in, it's going to test the speed, and it's going to actually tell you how long your website takes to load and what's causing it to take long, so you can fix it. So a couple rules for website speed: you should load in 4 seconds or less. Check the mobile site load speed as well to make sure it's not loading longer there, and reduce the image sizes to make your website load faster. Now the next point is schema. And schema is code that you can put on your website which helps Google understand exactly what the page is about, and it makes it easy for them to figure that out. Now most SEO plugins will actually automatically take care of this for you, but if you want to do it manually for whatever reason, you can manually make schema code on this website here, which I'm going to put a link to in the description as well, where you just need to fill out all the fields with the relevant information and then paste the schema code onto the page of your website. So you would fill it out, you would get a code like this one you can see here on the left. You would copy that code, you would just paste it on your page, and it won't display in the content, but it will show up in the code and Google will be able to read that. Now, schema itself won't necessarily help you to rank, but it does help in making Google's life easier in understanding what your website is about, so it can just increase your chances a little bit, and it's good to have. There's no specific rules for schema, just fill out the information if you use this tool above. Otherwise, your SEO plugin will do it automatically as well. It'll generate the code and paste it onto your pages. So you want to have specific schema for each page, so keep that in mind, which again is why the plugins are handy, because they'll just do it automatically and you don't have to go in and manually make the code for every single page. Now the next point is topical authority. Topical authority is the idea that if you establish authority in a specific topic or niche by having a lot of pages, articles, and good information about that topic, you will rank much easier in that topic than in another new topic. So let's say, for instance, your website is all about plumbing, and then all of a sudden you make a page about auto repair. That auto repair page is almost never going to rank well. However, practically anything about plumbing will rank easily if you already rank for other plumbing related keywords. So each specific niche is going to have its own requirements when it comes to topical authority and how much you actually need in order to rank easily. Now I put requirements in speech marks because it's not something that's actually set in stone. It's more to do with how your website compares to other websites in the niche and in the particular location, if it's a location specific site, how it compares to those websites. So if all the other websites are just one page about a topic, then you may very well only need one page that's just a bit better or 2 pages to outrank them. But if all the other websites are massive sites with tens or hundreds of pages on a particular topic, then you're going to have a harder time ranking and you're going to need to outdo them before you find that you're established as an authority as well in that topic. So your best bet is to focus on a particular topic or niche that you actually want to rank for and stick to that area unless you have a specific goal in mind to expand into another specific topic. You don't want to just randomly write blog posts about random topics because they're not going to actually do anything. And in fact, they might actually harm it more because Google's not going to understand like what you're actually an expert in, if that makes sense. Now, the more you can stick to a particular topic, on the other hand of what I just said, the better your site will actually rank for that topic. So over time, you're going to find that your new pages or articles are going to go straight to page 1 if you establish enough authority. So that's the benefit of that. So rules for topical authority: stick to your specific topic unless you have a plan to take over another topic. Compare the other sites that rank and see how extensive they are on the topic you're trying to rank for to get an idea of what it's actually going to take to compete. Now, the more topical authority you build, the easier it's going to be for your website to rank. And you're going to get to a point where you have so much authority that you just release a blog or a page and it just goes straight to page 1. That's what happens when you establish topical authority. Now, the next part is conversions and engagement. So Google has actually been placing more and more importance on user experience and ensuring that they're actually finding what they're looking for. And with that comes whether or not the user is actually engaging with your site and whether they completed a conversion, as that tells Google whether they found what they were looking for or not. So what this means is that the better your site converts, the higher it is actually likely to rank, which is quite interesting because you benefit on both fronts there. So you want to ensure that you actually optimize your website to get as many conversions as possible, which you should be doing anyway if you actually want to make money from your website. So Google is smart enough to know if a user has filled out a form, clicked the button to call you, watched a video, went to another page. So you want to encourage users to do these things. And also you'll be tracking these things in GA4 ideally in Google Analytics. So Google's going to get that data from there as well to know if it's happening or not. Now, the best way to get this to happen is to have a clear goal that you want the user to make on every page and make sure that the search intent matches what they're looking for. Now, the page should have a clear call to action which you want the customer to take. So what this will do is it'll ensure users find what they were looking for with the search intent and then took the action on your site because you made it extremely clear what you want them to do and obviously showed why it's beneficial to them to do that for what they're looking for. And this is going to help both your rankings and help you get more customers. So rules for conversions: have one clear call to action on each page. Don't confuse the user with multiple things you want them to do. Just give them that one clear thing. Make it blatantly obvious what you want the user to do and literally tell them on the page, do this. And it's going to increase the amount of people that actually do it and give the user exactly what they're searching for. So again, search intent comes into play here. Go and watch my search intent video. I'll link it up above to find out what exactly that is if you're not sure. Now, the next point is mobile friendly. So with more than 50% of web traffic now coming from mobile, your website must be optimized for mobile. There's no more option anymore like it used to be. You have to do it. So this means the design needs to be responsive and it needs to display properly on mobile, and the site needs to load fast on mobile as well. Now, most themes and website builders these days do optimize for mobile, but you just want to ensure everything functions correctly and that it displays correctly on the mobile website. So when you open the website on mobile, it's not broken or things are out of place or not able to be read or things like that, right? Also, make sure that the site is actually easy to use on mobile. So mobiles and touchscreens are already finicky to use, as I'm sure everyone knows. It's already kind of hard to click on things when it's not set up properly. So if you have a site with a lot of pop-ups or a lot of random things all over the place that are annoying to the user, you can expect them to leave. So make sure it's easy to use on mobile as well. Now, a couple rules for the mobile-friendly site. You want to have a responsive design. You want to make sure that everything functions and displays correctly on mobile. You want to make sure that it's easy to use and that it loads fast. And if you've covered these things, you should be good to go. Now, the last point is EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So this one is primarily related to blog posts and articles, and it's not as relevant for things like service pages on local business websites. However, it's still important to know about because basically you should be running a blog on pretty much any website if you wanted to rank. So EAT is actually a requirement from Google regarding the content of the website, and meeting these requirements is going to help you rank. So I'm going to go through each of these EAT points here. So the first one is E for expertise. Expertise means the content of the article actually displays expertise on that topic. It's not just generic information that you can find anywhere on the internet. So what this means is that your content needs to contain information based either on your knowledge or experience, and it's not just information you can quickly research online and then regurgitate. Because you have to remember, Google has access to billions of websites, so they can easily see if the information you're posting is just something you copied from somewhere else and reworded and it's pretty much exactly the same as what's out there, or whether it's unique information that you actually have expertise on within that topic. Now, the second one is A, for authoritativeness. This means that the content was created by an authority on the topic, so someone who has credibility to back up what they're actually saying and they're not just, talking nonsense. So to establish authoritativeness, the easy way to do this is you should have an author box on the bottom of your articles or at the top, which mentions the author's expertise, such as work experience, credentials, qualifications, or anything else that makes them an expert on the topic. And here's an example of what they could look like. This is from one of my blogs. So adding links to the social media profiles is also going to help to establish that they are in fact a real person and, just give a bit of background on them. And including more detailed information as well as contact information of all the authors on the About Us page of your website is actually going to help further establish this, so you want to do that as well if possible. Now T, the last point, is trustworthiness. To establish trustworthiness, the content needs to actually be factually correct and backed up by external sources to help prove that this is the case. So what this means is linking out to other authority sites with references, such as Wikipedia or another big authority site in your niche when writing a particular topic, as that's going to help to establish that what you're saying is actually true. So this is it for all the different points on on-page SEO. Here is the checklist as well. So if you get this, I'm going to put a link to this document so you can get all these descriptions and also this checklist. So if you go through this checklist and make sure that you've done all these things correctly, as I've described in this video, you're going to find that you're going to have a much, much easier time ranking on your website. So I hope that was helpful. If you found this useful, please remember to like and subscribe and all the usual stuff to help my channel so I can make more content like this. And I'm going to be making more videos on SEO as well. This is also part of my SEO course, which I'm going to link to below. So if you're interested in finding out more about SEO, be sure to click that and you'll find a lot more videos about SEO. So again, hope that was helpful. Catch you on the next one.